Hey, it's me, HEC3, also known as Hampton Edward Conway III, better known as Lil Hamp, and sometimes known as Shorty Coco. And this is the Get Fat podcast. That's right, Get Fat, F.A.T, freedom and transformation. And I want to share something with you all today that I've been chewing on for about a week. And it came from my devotional. And this is actually a devotional that I shared previously in a previous episode. I will put a card up for that one, for that episode. And I will also put a link to the devotional in the book. This is a devotional version of a book by Sarah Young called Jesus Calling, Enjoying Peace in His Presence. And so one of the things I really appreciate about this devotional is that it's speaking from Jesus's perspective. So when you read it, it's as if Jesus is writing to you or Jesus is speaking to you. And it's a very, very interesting way to approach it. And I really appreciate it. It's all obviously biblically based. It's got a very short, each day, it's very short, couple paragraphs, and then some supporting scriptures. And so I want to share some things that stood out to me from this particular one on January 3rd. So let me read this. It's not long. Just bear with me. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to tell you kind of what I've been chewing on since I read this. So it starts out, it says, refresh yourself in the peace of my presence. This peace can be your portion at all times and in all circumstances. Learn to hide in the secret of my presence, even as you carry out your duties in the world. I am both with you and within you. I go before you to open up the way, and I also walk alongside you. There could never be another companion as devoted as I am. Because I am your constant companion, there should be a lightness to your step that is observable to others. Do not be weighed down with problems and unresolved issues, for I am your burden bearer. In the world, you will have trials and distress, but don't let them get you down. I have conquered the world and deprived it of its power to harm you. Whew. In me, you may have confident peace. Yeah. So there's that. And typically I read through this. I read through it once just to read it through. And the second time I read it through and I kind of write as I'm reading as different things come to mind or different things stand out to me. So one of the first things that jumped out at me was the part where it says, I am both with you and within you. I go before you to open up the way, and I also walk alongside you. And for me, I actually got a visual. Like I actually pictured Jesus walking with me. And I pictured Jesus like jumping in front of me and blocking certain things from harming me. So like real talk, I was actually, this might sound a little crazy or funny, but like I daydreamed Jesus dressed up like a ninja and he was coming out like karate chopping Satan and throwing Chinese stars and using nunchucks and just taking fools out on my behalf. Jesus is my ninja. I picture Jesus grabbing my hand and pulling me in a certain direction to make sure I went the right way or avoided some sort of trap or snare, So this is what I'm picturing in my mind about like a visual of how Jesus is interceding and interfering and guiding and leading and protecting me as I travel through life. But he said, I go before you to open up the way, and I also walk alongside you. So I also pictured times where Jesus didn't jump out in front of me, where or Jesus didn't pull me in a certain direction. He let me make a decision. He let me go a certain way. And it may not have necessarily been the right way, but he was still there with me. He allowed me to encounter certain things and experience certain things, and maybe some things that I may have rather not experienced or gone through. But he was still there alongside me. He was still there with me. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the fact that no matter where I go or what I do, even when I think I'm alone, even in the past where I was in a really dark place and thought I was all by myself, I can think of times that God would send me reminders that he was still there. And so I'm grateful for that. But this other line, it also said, I am both with you and within you. And let me tell you what that made me think about. That made me think about, and even going back to the idea of Jesus not necessarily jumping out and protecting me from certain things and allowing me to experience certain things. It made me think about situations that I might have been in where I wanted God to fix my situation. I was in a situation where I wanted God to take something away, if you will, to remove certain things or certain people from my life, right? Remove certain situations from my life. Lord, just fix it, Jesus, right? And this phrase, I am both with you and within you, made me think about the fact that, you ever ask somebody to do something and they do it, but they don't do it the way you wanted them to do it or expected them to do it? And you're like, that's not what I was asking. It made me think of that in the sense that I think sometimes when we ask Jesus to fix something, to solve a problem for us, to relieve us from some pain or frustration or whatever we may have going on, we have an idea of how that should go down. And sometimes Jesus fixing the situation isn't removing the situation. It's working within us on our attitude about the situation. Or sometimes, God fixing a situation isn't taking the person that's causing us problems or strife out of the picture. Is God working on us on the inside? Him fixing it isn't removing the person. Him fixing it could be him working on us so we could have another perspective of the situation or of the relationship. So, I think that Jesus fixing it, isn't always what we expect it to be or what we want it to be, or what we had in our mind for it to be, right? There is that verse that says God's ways are not man's ways are not God's ways. God's thoughts are not man's thoughts. Y'all put in the comments what verse that is, if you know. But yeah, sometimes we have our own way of what we expect of Jesus and what we expect of God. And of course, he knows better. And so, that just made me think about that sometimes, I believe God can do anything. I believe that there's certain times we may face certain mountains in life and we ask God to move the mountain and we wait on God to move the mountain. And in the meantime, God has given us the rope, the grappling hook, the special spike shoes. He's given us everything we need to conquer the mountain, to climb over it, to work our way over the mountain. But we're steady waiting on God to move the mountain. And he's saying, man, I gave you everything you need to get over this mountain. And so sometimes it's just a matter of changing our perspective. And I think that's what Jesus does for us on the inside. But I think it takes, and this is what I appreciate about this journal. It really tries to get you to focus on being in God's presence. And so that's one of the things I'm working on, is not just reading this real quick and moving on about my day, but like trying to find some really quiet time, undistracted, and give my undivided attention to the devotional and to prayer so I can actually hear from God. Like, there's a lot of noise going on in our lives. Let me speak for myself. There's a lot of noise. And when I say noise, I'm not necessarily even talking about negative things. I just mean just stuff going on. Noise, period, right? There's work and there's kids and there's this and there's that. There's all these things. There's even the noise of, social media and other distractions and other people and just all these things around us. There's so much noise all the time. And I'm trying to get myself to a place where I can carve out some quiet so I can hush the noise. I even think this says, learn to hide in the secret of my presence, even as you carry out your duties in the world. Do not be weighed down with problems and unresolved issues, for I am your burden bearer. So I'm really trying to get to a place where I'm making sure that even if it's not totally quiet, if I'm not in a place where I've dispelled all the noise that's going on around me, but I want to at least be in a place where I'm hearing from God and God's voice. I'm putting myself in a position where I can hear from God and God's voice is louder than the noise. Because there's always going to be some noise. But I need God's voice to be louder than the noise so I can hear from him. So I can understand and be clear about the direction he wants me to go in and the things he wants me to do. The other thing, I think about, going back to the whole thing about Jesus fixing the situation and what we think that looks like for us. I think one of the things God's been really working on me about is trust. And, we have all heard that saying, Jesus, take the wheel. Well, I think a lot of times when we say that, let me stop saying we. Let me talk about myself, okay? If you can relate, let me know. Put it in the comments if you can relate to this, what I'm about to say. But often when I would say, Jesus, take the wheel, that's not really what I meant. Because what Jesus taking, if you say Jesus, take the wheel and you mean it, that means you actually let go of the wheel so he can take it. We say, Jesus, take the wheel, but we still got one hand on that bad boy. Okay? Because we still want to have some control over the situation. What we really mean when we say that is, Jesus, take this pain, or Jesus, take away this frustration, or Jesus, take away this situation. Jesus, take this person, right? We want a quick fix. We want it over and done with, but we still want to have some control. So we saying, Jesus, take the wheel, but we still got our hand on the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel means we like this. We done took both hands off the wheel. And we trusting that God's got it. I'm still working on that. So that's all I wanted to share is that, when you're trusting God to help you with a situation, trust that he knows better than we do. His fix may not look like what we've pictured in our mind about how it should be fixed, how it should be resolved. sometimes the fix isn't external. Sometimes the fix is internal in us. And there's a change he's looking for and working on in us with our attitude, with our perspective, with our expression of faith, with our expression of love, with our perseverance, right? There's something he's trying to do on the inside of us. And so don't be disappointed when you call out to God and you're praying God to fix something and it doesn't look like it's changing. He hears you. He's working on your behalf. Be open to what he's trying to teach you and where he's trying to guide you and how he's trying to grow you, because you may be missing the blessing because you done made up your mind that the fix looks like this. I done beat up my monitor. You done made up your mind that the fix looks like this. And he's over here working it out, and it looks like this. And we all frustrated and disappointed that God ain't doing what we think he should be doing, but he is. So I'm preaching to myself, y'all. So, hey, that's why I do this. I hope that any of the blessings I receive, any of the things I learn, I just want to share them. I just want to give y'all a little something to chew on so you can get fat. So come on and get fat with me. Hope this was a blessing to you here on the Get Fat podcast.